Today it's time for a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2, and what I've got for you is a Zerg versus Terran, which in my opinion is still the best matchup at the highest level of play. Now don't get me wrong, I love the others, but there's just something special about ZVT. All of the units are viable, there's a wide variety in strategies and build orders that people can play, and there's no denying that it's just getting better and better and better, especially with the new multiplayer balance patch, now that Terran Mech is probably even more popular than Terran Bio. But anyways, here we go. Game number 1, we find ourselves on Eternal Empire, playing here in the top right-hand corner of the map with the blue Zerg drones. This man won BlizzCon just about a month or two ago, and that makes him the world champion of StarCraft 2. We're looking inside of the main base of Dark. Now Dark, with winning BlizzCon, ended up winning $210,000 in that one day, which is not bad at all, and that's actually also twice as much as his opponent has earned throughout his career in like all tournament earnings. So it's a little bit crazy as far as the income discrepancy goes between these two guys. Now I've been hyping up the Red Terran player here for what seems to be like a year and a half right now, and especially over the last few months he's been getting ridiculously good. He just actually overtook Dark on Aligilek and is currently considered to be the number 2 in the world. It's pretty ridiculous considering this man has never won a premier tournament before. But of course that means we're looking at none other than Cure. It feels kind of good though. I've been hyping up Cure for such a long time, and he finally is really starting to make it happen. I hope he can win some offline tournaments going into 2020 as well. Now by the way, it's a pool first build here from Dark. Not something we see all too often, and normally when it is a pool first build, we see more than just 2 Zerglings. Yeah, it's not too crazy actually. Just going for 2, it's certainly viable. Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah, he wants to get a little bit more aggressive than that. Already decides to go for that Roach Warren. You can send out these 2 Zerglings. The thing is, this SCV timing over here, it's pretty much perfect. Immediately, you know, Cure figures out exactly what is happening. This is right before he's gonna be forced to send that Reaper across the map. And with that, he decides to send the Reaper back home to defend against that command center that's going up on the low ground. Now, I think that this may actually be planned here from Dark. I think he may want to go ahead and throw his opponent a little bit more off than what we are here initially anticipating. So he knows that by sending those 2 Zerglings out at that point, he's likely gonna come across that one SCV, and he knows that as soon as Terran sees the SCV, or rather sees the Zerglings, that they're gonna send the SCV back home together with the Reaper. Now, he's got 4 roaches coming up at the 2-minute and 40-second mark. That's crazy. That's super quick. So Cure right now, he's like, wait a second, what's happening? I haven't seen the Zerglings on my side of the map, which may just be the only thing that's going on, but already, I mean, he's gonna have to start building up those defenses, because these roaches can start laying down the law very early. Alright, so what Cure is trying to do right now is he's moving over to the 3rd base to see if that one has been made. He will figure out exactly what's happening right now, or at the very least not exactly, but he knows that something's not quite right. He knows that he's gonna have to focus on base defenses. Wouldn't be surprised to see him start up a bunker here in a little bit as well, especially now that he has seen that Roach Warren. Marauder immediately gets queued up. He also has that Widow Mine coming up as well as a bunker. Here's the roaches though. 2 Ravagers have been morphed in as well. Keep in mind he's got the Overlord over here. Overlord's super important to provide that high ground vision. 3rd base was attempted at the very least to be acquired. Not gonna happen here, but high ground vision, super critical. Now for the Terran player here, it is also important to note that he ended up opening here with a very quick 2nd barracks, which is very helpful. I think you should keep biling. Yeah, there you go. If you bile in between the 2 structures, they will both take damage. Bunker though will finish up, and yeah, we do see continued droning right here as well, as Cure is trying to deny the 3rd base for as long as possible. I think this is just a little bit of early game aggression, as both players take quite a lot of damage. But neither of them is really significantly ahead here. I mean, I guess Dark is going to be able to like contain his opponent here for a little while, but as soon as Stimpack finishes up, Cure is going to be able to stim down that ramp and absolutely shut this down. So if that happens right, and all of his army dies for practically free, this is going to be a very difficult, nice, a very difficult game for him to win. 3rd base though has been started up right now. Reaper managed to get out of there as well, but Stimpack is finishing up in just a couple of seconds, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen. Normally this is the moment where we see that Terran drop happening, but I mean, only just now is when the Medivac start up. Look at that. Dark doesn't really know exactly what is going on, but he's seen the bio. He knows when Stimpack is likely to finish up, so he's already leaving. That's the sign right there of a great player, okay? How many of us would have stuck around there? We're like, okay, yeah, we're containing the Terran. It's great. Let's sit there for a little while longer. And then you lose all of those units for pretty much free. And then you lose the third base as well to the counterattack. Very difficult move to make there. But Dark shows us what he is made of. Good defense, though. Also, of course, right here by Cure. Not really taking all too much damage whatsoever. But you can see, especially in that worker count, he needs to get something done. Alright. Now, there's 2 Medivacs filled with units. Stimpack is done. There's that Widowmine walking across the map as well. Jimmy and his buddy Jake also have decided apparently that they just simply want to make their move by walking across the map. They don't get that private jet. It's a little bit sad for them, but anyways, I think there should be enough defense, to be honest, though. I mean, there's a couple of Marauders are very helpful. Maybe even get like a little bit of damage. Yeah, I don't think it's really gonna happen. Widowmine, though. Ooh, this is a very cheeky Widowmine. That Widowmine is feeling brave enough to just walk on over to the mineral line. Is it gonna happen? No. Okay, it's not gonna happen. That was very close. If that one Roach actually wouldn't have, like, I think it was a Roach, right? If that wouldn't have gotten, like, a couple of acid spits off, I think it may have actually accidentally killed, like, 5+ workers. But that just barely did not go in favor right here of Cure, who's now in a bit of an awkward position. So, Dark has been quite vocal over the last few weeks that he does not like ZVT as much as I do right now, okay? I love watching it, but apparently Dark doesn't really enjoy playing it very much, as he says that it's not winnable for Zerg in the late game, or at the very least that he can't do it. Which is curious to say because, I mean, I've had the same experience playing on the ladder. As you guys probably know, I've been playing far more aggressively over the last couple of weeks as well. Just because when Terran Mech maxes out, it's not something I can win against. Now, it's not Terran Mech this time around, but I think that may very well be, though, the reason why Dark decided to open up as aggressively as he did right here. It kind of indicates that he doesn't want to play the game by going the distance. Basically, there's been a lot of different nerfs and a lot of different buffs on the side of Terran and nerfs on the side of Zerg. Yeah, it's become very different to play the late game. I've seen a bunch of Zerg players do so very well. Especially Raynor has done an amazing job. I know that Serral has done an amazing job as well. But apparently Dark, who's certainly considered to be one of the very best, he's struggling. He's struggling. Anyways, siege tanks have been brought as well, and this is great. I love this position here for Cure. Those siege tanks are in such scary spots, though. You can't really easily get in here. Yep, he's trying to bait those Roach units down the funnel here. With the rock still up, Dark is going to have a very hard time setting up a surround here as well, because he can't really, like, go around very easily. Roach Ravager is super slow. Queens are going to be the name of the game. They're trying to take as many of the shots as possible. Ooh, Corrosive Biles almost connect there with the Bio Army. Looks like these Ravagers, at the very least, will connect with the tank there, but I think 2 of them also got picked off. That's a Queen over there. I recognize that blood splatter. That certainly is a Queen. One will finish up here in just a little bit, but already a lot of damage has been done here by the Terran player in red. Economically speaking, though, not a lot of damage has been done. Dark is still sitting on that economical advantage. That siege tank in the back, such a nuisance. But I think eventually Dark can break out of this without really losing all too much. He's got the 4th hatchery coming up, and while he did end up losing a lot of army, he's mining so much more than his opponent. Actually, you know what? I think that Cure has to be very careful here, because 1-1 is finishing up here for the Zerg in just a sec. Losing these units is very painful. This counterattack can be huge. I actually kind of would like to see Dark just committing to the counterattack here. Now, once again, there's another drop actually, and this one could do a lot more damage. Getting the 4th here, super annoying. I love it. Beautiful move there by Cure. Gets the 4th base, flies on out of there without losing anything. So, I think what Dark would like to do at this point, and Cure knows about it as well, I'm pretty sure he would love to push across the map. The thing is, these 2 drops, they keep him occupied. He can't really leave without taking a lot of damage. So because of that, the counterattack... Oh my god, Kobe! He was trying to get the bile on the fly out. Because of that, he's gonna be containing the Zerg player with drops. Pretty curious style. Maybe that's also the reason why we see the Spire coming up. So, adding on a couple of Corruptors here would be pretty nice, I guess. Maybe he wants to go Mutas? I haven't seen anyone go like Roach Ravager Muta. That would be very odd, but I wouldn't even be against the idea. He's also started mixing in Zerglings right now, so it kind of indicates that maybe he wants to go for that style. Also, when he gets +1 melee going, it's not a crazy idea. So, even though Terran mech is apparently the thing that, that Dark is complaining about, this is a game where Cure is 100% focused on Terran bio. Yeah, look at that. Wow. So he decided to go for the roach cheese initially, and now he's making the switch on over to what seems to be Mutaling Bane. Very cool. Very cool. Once again, though, big drop right over here. Getting rid of that Spore Crawler. He's going to keep a couple of those Medivacs alive. This base is actually in a little bit of trouble, but there's quite a few transfuses available, and I think that the Terran player is going to take some damage here. Ooh, big corrosive piles, actually. They do shut down some of those Medivacs as well. Here's those mutas that come in at a very weird time. So, most of the time, right, if you're a Terran player and you see your opponent going for Roach Ravager, they do not switch over to Ling Bane and mutas all of a sudden. This is an odd switch to make. By the way, does he even have a Baneling Nest? Yeah, he does have a Baneling Nest. Okay, I was going to say, like, that would have been a little bit strange as well. No centrifugal hooks yet, so no roly-poly upgrade yet. But this is an odd switch to make, and I think that Dark is kind of making it happen. He still has a lot of Roaches and Ravagers from earlier, so he certainly isn't done yet, but wouldn't be surprised to see like a big Baneling morph in here as well. The thing obviously is, right, when you see a Terran, or a Zerg player rather, go for a Roach Ravager, you go for a lot of those Marauders. Marauders aren't really what you want against Mutaling Bane, right? It's just not the unit composition you're looking for. So this puts Terran into a bit of an awkward position as well, as Cure is still stuck on only 3 command centers, and he's not really going to be able to put on a lot of pressure anymore, because he can't move with Medivacs. Oh god, oh, be careful, there you go. That's pretty bad. I think what he's trying to go for right now is like a timing attack as soon as +2/+2 finishes. He does have 2 of those engineering bases coming up, but maybe it's not going to be done in time as Zerg is trying to brute force his way up this ramp. Fighting in the choke. Never really a good idea. 4th command center, by the way, does start off. At the same time, we have a couple of the Banelings moving over to the 3rd. He's not paying attention because he's busy microing. That is 14 of those bad boys falling in just a couple of seconds. And even though he's trying to not lose that Baneling there to the siege tank, it still ended up going down. This tank right now, 14 confirmed kills. So, that's a lot of damage, obviously, that Cure took. I'm mostly, like, worried about the timing of the 4th CC. If he had the 4th CC done at this point, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. That was also not a cheap army here to lose for Dark, but he's really making the best of this very awkward scenario. And I really want to emphasize that, because I think if you're playing Zerg on the ladder and you've gone for like a push in the early game, it's super easy to like get stuck in the mindset of constantly pushing. This is a very clever way of playing Zerg, but also extremely difficult to execute. He's really the one in charge though of this matchup, really. I mean, other than that like small phase that we had just a little bit ago where Terran was dropping. After that, it's been pretty much the Zerg player in the driving seat. Now, Centrifugal Hook still not done yet. That makes this fight a little bit strange as well, as the Terran player has a much easier time dodging those Banelings, especially off creep. Here we go, once again, they're trying to slowly walk into the clumps of Terran bio. Not happening though, but Roach Ravager, I mean, it's providing some support there from the back. 72 additional Zerglings are being produced. A couple of SCVs actually also went down during all of this, and I just don't see the numbers here. Dark just doesn't have enough stuff in game number 1 of this series. I mean, maybe he can somehow, some way, claw his way back into it, but I don't really see the Zerg player ever allowing a 4th command center, and without it, I don't think you're gonna have the eco to really deal with it. 4th CC though has landed over here. It's currently morphing into a planetary fortress. If that finishes up, it's going to create a beautiful anchor for Cure to back up into, but I think that might just be a little bit too much Zerg. GG is called. Game number 1 goes in favor of Dark. Okay, game number 2, we find ourselves on Triton. It's quite interesting though as to why Cure still loves playing bio. In that previous game, I guess he was kind of forced into it. He decided to go for that very quick second barracks to defend the imminent aggression. And from there on out, obviously, he was kind of forced to play that bio-based style. But it feels to me, at the very least, that pretty much all the top-tier Terran players over the last few weeks have all been playing mech. Now, just to clarify, for those of you that are wondering, Terran bio did not receive any nerfs. It's not like Terran bio is all of a sudden weaker. As a matter of fact, it's probably a little bit better because, well, the Infestor is not as strong as it once was, right? The thing is though, Terran mech, it did receive a couple of buffs, especially to the Thor. Now, I've been playing some Terran myself as well. I actually just reached Master 1 again as random. Pretty excited about that, but whenever I play Terran versus Zerg, I have tried playing Bio as well, and I gotta be honest with you, I suck at playing Terran Bio against Zerg. It's really, really, really difficult. I always kind of feel like, until like a certain level, and that level is probably Grandmaster League, because you can definitely pull it off against, you know, Master 1 level players, it's much, much easier to play Terran Mech, because the difficult part about playing Terran Mech is maxing out. Once you get there, the micro is pretty straightforward, and the macro is not that hard either. Plus the actual like pushes are really, really, really scary. It's difficult for Zerg to deal with those maxed out Terran Mech pushes. Now, interestingly enough, I had the exact opposite experience playing Terran Bio. It's great until you max out, because, you know, then you're gonna have to fight off against a maxed out Zerg as well, and the Terran Bio micro is extremely difficult. So I wonder if maybe Cure decides to go for a bit of a switch in this particular game. Wouldn't be all too surprised. Dark, by the way, once again decided to go for the spawning pool really early, but this time around he is getting himself the metabolic boost upgrade. So I think this is mostly just him memeing on his opponent a little bit. This is him playing a series, right? This is clever. Once again, that SCV is coming up here at the correct timing. It's gonna see 2 Zerglings. Guess what's going through Cure's head right now, right? Wouldn't be surprised if he's assuming that this is gonna be a very similar approach as we saw in the previous game. Factory, though, does start up immediately. We also see Cure instantly setting up that bunker on the other side of the map. This is 100% Dark, trying to mind game his opponent and trying to be smarter than the Terran. It's pretty clever, though. I do like it. He is still mining gas, so I'm curious to see what he's actually going to use that gas for. Normally, I would have expected him to pull out of gas a little while ago. He's already sitting at 120. That's a weird timing to pull off as well. Huh. So decides to start up Zergling speed and then a couple of queens, and now he seems to want to go for a 3rd base. That's pretty interesting, considering he's got 140 gas just sort of sitting there. This seems a little bit unoptimized, but maybe that's also just because he wants to trick his opponent. Either way, I want to see what Dark decides to do in this game as well. Reaper once again gets across the map, sees these drones right now, which is actually a very big tell. Also decides to throw one of those KD8 charges out, the Reaper grenade, and well, he managed to get himself a decent enough connection, just slowing down the mining time ever so slightly. So, by the way, here's that group of Zerglings that we saw. When it comes to opening up pool first, it's generally considered to be an inferior build to going hatchery first, with a small margin. I personally believe that the main reason why a lot of players don't want to go pool first, and that includes myself, is that the queen injects don't really line up anymore. Because, like, you finish the spawning pool and then you have, like, 1 hatchery down, so you go, like, 1 queen, and then later on you add on more queens. If you do it really well, you can line up your queen injects. As you can see right here, those 2 queen injects, those white bars on top of the hatcheries, they're lined up, so you can inject around the same time. It makes it a little bit easier to manage. When you go for the pool first, it just kind of messes all of that up, and it's just a little bit uncomfortable, I guess. So most players will decide to go for that hatch first, also because on paper, it is indeed the superior build. Once again, by the way, it is going to be that bio-based opener here for Cure. Already has the 3rd command center coming up way quicker this time around. So normal time for a 3rd CC, especially when playing 1-1-1, which is what we have over here, is about 4:30. If you go 4:30 3rd base, that's normal. In this case, 4:30 is going to be when that command center is like 90% of the way done. It's also going to be a cloaked Banshee opener. So no Viking this time around either, at all. Normally we do see with a 1-1-1 a Viking being produced as well. I think this is Cure assuming his opponent might go for like a Roach Assault. Roach push is very common as well if you like playing aggressively right now. It's the style that I love playing against Terran at this point. And when you go up against a Terran player who's going instant Banshee, you basically lose immediately. So Banshee first, it counters a bunch of super aggressive Roach pushes off of, you know, seemingly 3 bases with macro builds. Zerg is very good at making you think that it's a macro build, but not the case. So I think actually the reason for that lair timing was primarily to just get the Overseer out. Just so he doesn't have to make the Spore over at the 3rd base. Also, very quick Baneling speed. What a curious build. Both players are going for some very interesting builds, but especially the one that Zerg is doing here is very odd. Leaving those drones in gas for a while getting Link speed and then going for a lair. What seems to be primarily for Baneling speed and then also, I guess, the Overseer Scout. I mean, yeah, it makes some sense. Now is finally when we see those double evolution chambers being added on. So those are relatively late, especially against someone who's opening up bio. Dark is going to end up losing that one Overseer. It's gonna float off into the depths with the bits and pieces that still remain. But he's gonna have that Baneling speed very early. Okay. Curious. So what's gonna be the follow-up right now from Cure? Well, he's got the 3 barracks production already happening. Wouldn't be surprised to see him add on additional barracks here in just a little bit, as he does now secure that 3rd command center with additional mining. I like this build a lot though here for Cure, because he's in a good spot, right? He's ahead in upgrades. So when playing Terran Bio against Zerg with Ling Bane, it's really critical that you get these upgrades going. One of the most common mistakes is forgetting the armory. This happens to pretty much everyone out there. Forgetting the armory prevents you from going 2-2, and if you have that happen, life's rough, life's very difficult. In this case, though, obviously, Cure is not going to make that error. He's way too good for that. I mean, it happens to everyone, but not too often in tournament play. This was indeed played, by the way, I think as part of, like, the Kung Fu Cup? Kung Fu Cup? Something like that. It's got a bit of a funny name, but anyways. He's very far ahead as far as the upgrades go, which is really, really, really nice here for the Terran player. Good pickup once again. Hot pickup, that is. If he starts up 2-2 immediately, it creates a really nice advantage for him going into the mid-game as well. So Armory is going to finish up here in just a sec. Probably will indeed finish up the 2-2 significantly before his opponent. Ooh, that was pretty painful actually as well. So there we go. +2 gets started instantly, as soon as he realized. So he's got about a good, I would say, like 30-second advantage or so, which basically means most of the Terran pushes, right, the big ones that we see in the mid-game, most of those happen as soon as 2-2 finishes. So it's kind of like the timing attack that Terran players love to go for. It means he's going to have 2 upgrades ahead of his opponent, which is just absolutely massive. So for now, really all he's trying to do is slow down the Zerg player. Apparently he forced the council actually on the hatchery over here, while also simultaneously killing some creeper in the center. This is great. Just a little bit of a nuisance, knowing that he's going to be able to go for a really big push later on if he really wants to. Alternatively, obviously, he could just like macro up a little bit more. Second factory is coming up as well, so he's going to be able to start producing multiple siege tanks if he wants to. He's even getting the drilling claws upgrade right now, so maybe he's going to make the change towards widow memes instead. Maybe he's anticipating his opponent once again going for those mutas. Not going to be the case though, as Hive is already coming up here as well for Dark. So both players very, very focused on that macro game. Looks like a bunch of Marines though are being picked off, and these traits are not bad for Zerg. When it comes to resources lost up to this point, Zerg has lost quite a bit more though. He's also mining a little bit more, so that makes up for that small difference, but I think we're leading up to one really big clash here in just a little bit. It will, by the way, be Widow Mine production here as well. Very cool. So is that going to be a reactor? It will be. Okay, yeah. So he's going to start building quite a few of those Widow Mines here in just a little bit. Already, though, Hive is done, right? And Dark actually doesn't know about this. So once again, this is not a mind game at play. Most of the time when Terran players open up with Terran Bio, they will switch into siege tanks as well, right? So siege tanks, absolutely phenomenal. The counter to siege tanks are, of course, those Vipers, as you can throw a blinding cloud on them and shut down some of those big damage dealers. In this case, though, already we see the switch here towards those Widow Mines. Now, Vipers are pretty good still, but obviously they're expensive. It's not quite something you're gonna be able to use as efficiently against Widow Mines. Widow Mine damage is considered spell damage, meaning that every single time they shoot, it's considered a spell, even though it's a rocket. I don't know, guys. It's one of the things that science can't explain. And spellcasters are not affected by Blinding Cloud. So you can't, like, you know, throw a spell or like a Blinding Cloud on, say, a High Templar. They're still going to be able to storm just fine. That was almost a very, very large detonation. Gotta be careful, though. Yeah, that's a lot of dead Marines here. There's so many different things going on, right? You always try and out-micro your opponent. By the way, he didn't decide to go for the +2 timing attack. Instead, it's just continuously dropping. Would have loved to see that, but he's going to go instead into 3-3 here immediately. He probably assumes that his opponent is good enough to hold that timing attack, so both players trying to outsmart each other, giving each other a lot of respect as well, making sure that they don't take any unnecessary risks. And that does mean that we are going straight down the macro game. Okay, so at the very least, this is the style that Dark does like to play against, right? So he's got the Ultralisk Cavern done. He's going for the Ultralisks right now as well. Probably the most uncommon unit in StarCraft 2. They're probably one of the worst units right now in StarCraft 2 as well. I mean, in general, they're pretty bad. They do have some use. Good splits there as well. that do have some use, especially against Terran Bio. So I think they're phenomenal against Terran Bio, especially when it's still stuck on this, like, you know, mid-game army. There it is, by the way, the big boy. It needs full upgrades before it's really helpful. Well, I mean, that did very little. It needs full upgrades before it's super useful. That was a big connection as well. 34 kills. Oh, nicely done. And it kind of falls off as soon as Terran makes the switch to watch either Ghosts or Liberators. Now, none of that is happening actually yet. So until that really happens, I mean, it's going to be Marauders and Widow Mines, I guess, for now. That's decent enough. But I feel like up to that point, until like Ghosts and a bunch of Liberators come out, those Ultras can do quite a bit of damage. Those Widow Mines are starting to become insane, though. So much damage here out of those. They're pretty cheap to produce. That one Banshee from the early game actually still hanging out over here as well. Though I don't know for how much longer, as indeed is not on the hotkey. Could just be picked off here. There it is. It does have Cloak, but didn't activate it. Okay. Interestingly enough, we don't see the switch here at all. Cure is probably just looking to like lay down the law as much as possible and just go for as much pressure as he can, trying to overwhelm his opponent in a tempo advantage. A very difficult way of winning, though, especially against the world champ. This guy usually doesn't lose against these kind of styles, but so far he's being run around. This base once again taking a lot of damage, and with that +3 finishing up here, those Marines deal a lot of damage as well. Those +3 infantry weapons, giving them all +3 additional damage for every single shot. You may have noticed Marines attack very quickly. Nicely done. Widow Mine still in the center of the map. Oh my god. Hold up. Where's the... Oh god. Okay, there's an Overseer coming right now. That is close. That could have been an absolute disaster. Once again, Bio stimming over here. Top right-hand corner, or at the very least loading up right now. He's going to be able to stim here in just a little bit. At the same time, the Terran Bio army in the bottom left-hand corner also trying to lay down a little bit of pressure. Now, I would love to see a transition right now, though, from Cure to go up towards that Liberator style. He's adding on the command centers, check. He's going even for high-sec auto-tracking. There it is. No trivia today, guys. He's even got the structure armor coming up. Actually, no, it's not structure armor. It's Neo Steel armor. There it is. Chitinous plating, though, finally is being researched. That one is a little bit later than ideally we wanted to. That's why those Ultras absolutely melted. I think that Dark probably assumed his opponent would start showing up with those Liberators as well, so he probably didn't even want to invest into the Ultras too much. But now that he's realized, wait a second, my opponent is not going for those Widow Mines. Or sorry, not for the Liberators. I guess the Ultras are viable, right? They're gonna be a decent enough choice. So what's the win condition here for Terran? Because I kind of feel like, ultimately, if this continues the way it is, Zerg's army composition isn't going to be more powerful. I think what Cure is trying to do is just, like, outmine his opponent and just lay down so much pressure that he gets that big tempo advantage and just continues rallying units across the map. It's one of the hardest ways of winning in StarCraft, though, and, I mean, with 3-3 finishing right now as well, Dark's army is just about to get to the strongest state it can be in, and I feel like if you don't have late-game units, like Liberators or Ghosts, it's very difficult to obtain the victory, especially when Zerg still has 97 workers. They can keep trading for days. Look how much of a difference that makes, by the way. The Ultralisk earlier absolutely melted. This one stays alive for way, way longer. Now, maybe I shouldn't be doubting, though, Cure. I mean, like I said, he's currently considered to be the #1 Terran player on Aligalek, recently overtaking Dark. That's huge. He's currently the #2 on the planet, just behind Serral, which is, like, absolutely massive, considering this man has never won a Premier tournament before. Obviously, it's always just statistics. Oh my god, dude. Like, honestly, the micro here is insane, though. Terran's getting so much value out of that micro. Look at that. Holy shit. Dude, that was crazy. He's also microing the drop over here on the right-hand side, right? Like, that's where the real proper craziness is happening. He's not just microing one of those fights and splitting and trying to get into good positions and all that. He's also fighting simultaneously. Oh my god, with this army over here. He's finally making the transition towards fleet beacons and, well, not fleet beacons, fusion cores. And then also additional starports. But this control here has been absolutely insane. Dark anticipating the switch as well. He hasn't seen the fusion core. There it is. But he knows that it likely will be coming here. Liberator range finally starts up. Dark's economy actually is in shatters right now. That fight here off creep was horrible for him. If you look at the units lost here, yeah, look at that. Wow. So this cost efficiency is what I'm talking about here in the early game. This is what I absolutely suck at when I play Terran Bio. Like, my traits are kind of like 50-50, which is bad. You need to get like a favorable trait because Zerg is pretty much always mining more, right? So you need to get a favorable trait, economically speaking, in those fights. These battles have been extremely good for the Terran player because of that ridiculous micro. I still feel like it's such a gamble though, because I've seen so many Terran players just lose huge chunks of their bio army to like 5 Banelings. And it happens all the time, right? It's pretty crazy. Especially if like Dark decides to mix in, say, like a few Infestors for like the fungal growth. But I mean, you know what? Cure, his army is huge. He's been getting it at economy advantage by just simply expanding all over the map. Zerg needs to hold on to this base because if he doesn't, he's basically dead in the water. Like, he can't really do very much here. Actually, Zerg has very little mining. This base is basically his lifeline. Look at the Terran mini-map as well at the same time, okay? Like, look at it. Terran's mining every single base that is on their site. Really, really nicely done here. Ultralisk moving off creep, but because of all of those scans, the creep is not inside anywhere. He can't really hold on to this base. Now, all of these bio units, though, they have like 1 hit point. So most of those will be picked off. I think that's a bit of an overextension there from Cure. He's even now going for, what's it called again? The Medivac boost thingamajig. The one that makes the Medivacs a little bit better. I need to play StarCraft trivia with myself. But this is an awful lot of Terran, and he's just laying down the law. GG, it's called. Cure obtains the victory in game number 2. Now, if you're a Terran player, right, and that previous game on Triton inspired you to try and play the same style where you just go Marine, Marauder, Medivac, Mine, basically you make every unit that starts with the letter M, right? Say you're inspired from that, right, and you want to go ahead and give it a try. I just want to warn you in advance that unless you have God tier micro, it's probably not gonna happen. I haven't seen anyone win with a style like that until, well, the previous one for years. It usually doesn't happen where in a straight up macro game, just sticking around on that like early to mid game army composition is gonna win you the game. It works every once in a while for Zerg by going like Hydraling Bane, for example, or like Mutaling Bane, because they can get that really big advantage. But there wasn't like one moment where Cure really obtained a massive advantage, right? He was just pushing relentlessly the entire game long, and while he set himself up to switch over to Liberators there at the very end, he never did. He never did make that switch. Just simply pushed and pushed and pushed, got the tempo advantage, and eventually Dark crumbled under the pressure and ran out of mining on like his 5 expansions or so. That was a ridiculously well-played game right there by Cure. But if you're a Terran player and you felt inspired, just be prepared to, unless you play like 40 games a day, to be disappointed if you play that style for like, you know, the first couple hundred games you play. Because it's very difficult to pull off, especially against some of these best top-level Zerg players. But anyways, once again, by the way, it is going to be a gas into a spawning pool. Dark, what are you going to do this time? That game started off oddly as well, though, with that build order from Dark. Kind of want to pay a little bit more attention to that in this one. What was curious to me is that he didn't pull the drones out of gas, which kind of made it feel like an inefficient build, because, like, the lair came up at a very odd moment as well. He pulled off the drones on gas at, like, 132 or something, which was an odd number. Once again, okay, it is going to be that Roach Warren this time around. Cool. Is Cure going to go into the main base? Ooh, okay. He wanted to. Didn't happen, though. Those Zerglings probably would have been able to kill it, especially on creep, because they're a little bit quicker on there. This is the same build that we saw in game number 1. So I wonder if this is a mind game, actually, once again, or if this is just like Dark assuming his opponent assumes that it's going to be a mind game like it was in game number 2, and therefore assumes it's not actually going to be aggression, and therefore under-prepares for it, because I don't see a bunker this time around. I think it's a mind game, actually, yes. Thinking about it a little bit more, I think it's a mind game. Now, this time around, the Reaper was sent across. That's huge. Reaper wanted to probably move to the back right here. Not gonna happen. Second Reaper actually was also made. Cool. So that one probably is here just in case 2 more Zerglings were produced and they were sent across the map. Roaches, though, already coming up. Cure. Oh, here we go. This is a big one. There it is. He scouts this. Oh, dude, you're so good, Cure. He scouts the Roach Warren, and this will allow him, well, at the very least, with a heads-up knowledge that there's something coming here in just a bit. Now, look at this. This kind of feels like almost like a TVP opener at this point. He's opening up triple barracks. I love it. Everyone and their dog is opening up 1-1-1, right? One barracks, and then one factory, and then one starport, and then a third command center, right? Not Cure, though. Anticipating what his opponent is going for. Now, we do find ourselves on Zen. As I mentioned many times, there's multiple entrances into the natural expansion, which is what makes this map very difficult to play. Immediately goes concussive shells. Wow, so he's going Marauders with concussive shells as a counter to this. Well, I mean, there's a lot of units there in that bunker. I guess he wants to, like, try and just go into the main base. But this is costing him so much time, though. Corrosive Balls, please? No Corrosive Balls? Oh my god, SCVs setting themselves up with the surround as well. Drones are being produced at this point. Maybe a couple of workers will end up going down. That's three SCVs? I mean, if it's just Ravagers left over, though. 3 workers in total. 1 Reaper falls there as well in the end. But this is a phenomenal spot to be in if you are the Terran player here. It does create a very awkward scenario, though. Because, I mean, behind this, obviously, Dark was, like, droning up, right? And he's not really been committed too much. This upgrade wasn't started until a little while later than he probably wanted to. If you would have gotten Stimpack going instantly, I think it could go for a pretty strong timing attack off of this as well. Right now, it's a bit awkward because he's not going to have any mid-game, like, anything other than, like, Marines and Marauders, right? This is the weird spot. Since the factory is so late, and since then the starport will be super late as well, Cure's mid-game here is going to be a little bit strange, and I'm curious to see how he's gonna transition out of this. Keep in mind, though, with a build like this, Dark is going to have a much slower creep spread. Once again, mixing it up, by the way. No Lair this time around. Single Evo Chamber this time around at 5 minutes rather than like 5:30, which is what he did, I believe, that previous game. So Terran Bio will be scouted pretty quickly. Plus, when infantry weapons is coming up, we do see now the reactor being built on a factory. Starport right next to it, indicating that he wants to switch it over. He's sniped a lot of Overlords, by the way. Well, 2 is a lot. 2 apparently is a lot. Stimpack not done yet, though. Yeah, so this creep tumor over here is actually critical. Makes it so much better here for the Zerg player to hold on. Roaches are picking up a lot of these units, and you know what? I think this is actually fine for Dark. I like the position from Cure quite a bit earlier. It's still certainly not a bad spot to be in, but he needs to start up a 3rd command center soon, because otherwise this turns into an odd all-in. You can see right here that Dark has also not added on any more workers in a little bit. I mean, he may have just produced 4, but he's not really going for too many. Oh god, wow. That Reaper is greased up in Vaseline somehow. I don't know how. But anyways, he hasn't really added on a lot of workers. He hasn't seen his opponent go for a 3rd command center either. He will see that here in just a little bit if it's landed over here. May actually also scout out the expansion on the low ground in just a sec too. But this creates a bit of an awkward spot to be in if you are the Terran player. Because Dark can just, you know, start slowly saturating the 3rd base, get a small economical advantage. 3rd CC does eventually start up, but I can guarantee you, yeah, as soon as Dark sees this, which he does right now, he's gonna drone that 3rd base up fully. Reaper in the back of the main base, once again, trying to figure out the timing of that lair. Maybe getting a drone kill. Not bad. Odd timing to come in here with the things, with the Reaper, that is. Also a little bit odd, though, to then send those 2 Medivacs towards the main base, because obviously you force those units to go into the main base, but maybe that's a mind game. Maybe it's a mistake. Whenever it's a mistake, let's just pretend it's a mind game, okay? It's smarter than that. Now, this is a good position to be in. Oh, those Marauders holding the door for such a long time. A couple of Ravagers, though, available as well. Marines get picked up into the Medivac, and he's going to be able to boost out of there before the Queens can get the kills. Good defense here from Dark, all things considered. Roach Warren's still going to be up. He probably doesn't need it anymore. Could even end up killing it if he really wanted to. But this safe spot over here, it's not buyable. Is that a word? Buyable? I'm not sure. But he's not going to be able to bile it down from, you know, from either the main base or the 3rd. So it's going to be able to hang out there for at least a little while. Okay, so once again, it looks like we have a similar approach as in game number 1, where Zerg is going to go for that Mutaling Bane switch after opening up Roach Ravager. Very cool. Cure, once again, playing Bio. I was talking about how there's like strategy and build order variety. By the way, the Spire got killed just now. That's huge. I was talking at the beginning of this video how there's like build order variety and strategy variety and whatnot in ZVT. Even though there's not really a lot of variety in this series so far, the builds that both players have been playing, I hope I've done a decent job explaining it. They have been odd. They have been very strange. These are build orders that are not common and not builds that we regularly see. For example, 1 engineering bay, 1 evo chamber. Like, what's happening here? Second evo is being added on right now as well, while also adding on a second engineering bay. These guys are at a level of their own. They're not even playing standard builds. They're playing StarCraft. It's kind of like they have like such strong mechanics and such powerful game knowledge that they can mix it up quite comfortably and just still be in an okay spot, right? They mix it up depending on the map that they play on. They mix it up depending on the opponent that they face off against. And they mix it up depending on the series that they're playing and the games that happened prior to this series. Very, very cool. Like, why is he putting those barracks out here? A couple of Banelings actually trying to get a good spot. Already, though, anticipated by Cure. Put those siege tanks in the perfect position. Now just going to plug that hole with a supply depot as well. Pretty expensive loss. Now, Spire apparently was recreated over at the 3rd base. Dark does have quite a bit of gas right now. Killing that 4th actually was quite big. It's actually now also forcing Dark to immediately take a 5th. If he gets the kill again, aye. That's a disaster. Yeah, he does. So this is why you take a 5th. Trying to go for the double expo, usually a good idea. Target fire down the Baneling. Not gonna happen this time around with only 2 Marines, but still a beautiful spot. That Medivac from earlier is now gonna be able to, well, either regroup or maybe drop a little bit as well. Since there's no anti-air, right, he can just fly it straight over the creep. I mean, there's some queens, but they're not always gonna be in the best position. Wow! Such a greedy drop. Gets a tumor. Ah, this is beautiful StarCraft. Okay, so Cure has set himself up for a 1-1 timing attack. The strangest 1-1 timing attack that I've ever seen. The latest 1-1 timing attack I've ever seen. But considering the early game, this is not bad whatsoever. Good dodges right there on those corrosive balls as well. Siege tank probably can be leapfrogged forward. He's going to try and clean up some of this creep. Zerg, though, in the meantime, has come in from, well, like a massive concave. This concave here is huge. It's just that he doesn't have that many Banelings here. He doesn't really seem to have the firepower. Every single time the Lings engage, the Marauders back up into the light of those siege tanks and the Marines, and it just deals a lot of damage. This creep has been killed, right? So the creep tumors have been killed, meaning that soon he can start slow pushing as soon as the creep disappears. Now that was a good Baneling connection. Once again, corrosive balls being used. Not gonna land anywhere. At the same time, Mutas, though, have flown across the map. Both players obviously multitasking, and this is a big one. No SCVs defended here whatsoever. There's no Marines here. There's no missile turrets. None of that is happening. A lot of these workers can get picked off, and it's also not kind of shuts down that aggression from Cure, because believe it or not, these guys are actually humans. They can only look at one screen at once. Now, only 3 SCVs for now. Okay, a little bit of target firing at this point. So that's quite a good amount of SCVs. I think the biggest thing, though, is that this kind of shut down the aggression a bit, right? So missile turret should eventually finish up. 10 SCVs in total, not bad whatsoever. Gonna probably pick up some of those reinforcing units as well. Dark has been able to stabilize because of that counter-attack aggression, but he really needs more Banes. I actually think he needs to set up a Bix around as well, because if he just fights this head-on, I think he's gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Siege tanks, though, rather exposed there at the front. The Marines and Marauders run to the bottom of that ramp. Decent fight there for Dark. Ends up losing a lot, though. Good corrosive balls there near the end. Does shut down a little bit, and, well, those Mutas, they were tasked with fighting on the other side of the map. At least 2 of them. They did end up getting killed. Here's the reinforcements, though, for Cure. Cure is now finishing up +2/+2. This fight has been going on for such a long time that he finished up a full upgrade. I'm turning into the biggest Cure fanboy, guys. And for good reason. He pulled the trigger on the stim pack there. Beautiful splits. Barely took any damage from all of those Banelings. And those are the lifeline of Dark. Dark is in an extremely difficult position. Look at this. He's standing on the creep. Never stand on the creep, guys. If you're watching this and you play Terran Bio, don't stand on the creep unless you know specifically what it is you're doing. Cure obtains the victory, playing good old Marine Marauder Medivac. That's pretty nuts. I remember the early days of StarCraft 2 back in like 2010. Whenever like Terran players would see Mutalisk, they would literally just stim all of their Marines, even if it was like 4 Mutas, right? They would stim all their Marines to chase down those couple of Mutas. They would like accidentally SimCity themselves out of their main base and they couldn't run around and stuff. And then I compare it, right? That was the pro level back then. I compare it to what we have over here. It's nuts. It's nuts. This is just classical StarCraft, but played at a very, very high level and very intelligently. It's nuts. Crazy. I can imagine if you watch StarCraft 2 occasionally, and you don't have as much of like a concept of what like a quote-unquote standard game is, this is not a standard game, even though it looked like one. This whole series looked like what seemed to be a standard game. It's just like Lingbane Muta and Marine Marauder Medivac, right? But the ways they got there and like the strategies that they weaved through this series, it's pretty nuts. The amount of mind games that play as well. I mean, I tried to highlight a couple of them, but since these dudes play against each other all the time, be it on the ladder, be it in tournaments, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot more happening than what we can see right here on the surface. And also, by the way, I just want to point out, Cure just outplayed the world champion of StarCraft 2, playing Terran Bio, which is considered to be the inferior style right now. Let that sink in for a little bit, okay? This guy has never won a premier tournament before. He's getting better and better and better over the last couple of months especially, but really over like the last 2 years, ever since I first started casting his games. He's always been really impressive. And, well, he just dismantled Dark. I don't know a better word. I don't know a better word to describe it, but this was an extremely well-played series. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, hit that like button. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notifications as soon as I upload more. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright. And I will see you once again in the next one.